Scream 7 is finally here and God damn it. What? Hello?
Hello, Jings. Have you seen my new movie? I hope you have good things to say.
I got a few things to say about it, yes. You know what, bro? I'm actually trying to do a review video. Who is this?
As a movie buff, I would expect you to know better than to ask that question.
Yeah, you know what? You actually right. So I'm gonna go. All
Don't
right,
hang up
bye.
on me.
Probably my wife. I think I forgot to take out the trash today. Scream 7 is finally here, and it has been a long wait with so much controversy and anticipation, and I just got done watching it. And despite the many negative reviews that I have seen online, I actually really enjoyed this movie. I am gonna tell you why, but first I'm going to do my best to keep this as spoiler-free as possible. Until the end of the video, I'll let you know when we get into the spoiler talk because we have to talk about that reveal and whether or not we even liked it. So let's jump in. First things first, the story and the plot of this movie. I was really nervous that this movie would feel like a Hail Mary, like it was rushed or not really well thought out, that it would be obvious that Sydney coming back was just a desperate cash grab because of the drama with Melissa Barrera and losing Jenna Ortega. And no, honestly, I feel like this was a very well-crafted story that felt like an organic and natural progression of Sydney's story. The Sid now with a family and trying to live peacefully in a small town, but now has even higher stakes than ever because now it's about protecting her daughter Tatum. And that was really good to have because without that threat, this really easily could have been just another Ghostface chases Sydney story again. So I was really happy that there was a way to bring Sid back to a place of being terrified and worried and not just playing it like she's more irritated that there is another Ghostface, but actually scared. Ghostface 2 was another dub. This Ghostface definitely felt a bit tougher and more resilient. He likes to toy with his victims and really searches for the most creative way to kill, but he's also a lot more stealthy in this movie, especially compared to Scream 6, and I really enjoyed that part because this Ghostface really used the element of surprise to their advantage and extremely well. There were actually 2 jump scares in the movie that genuinely got me. I was impressed. Roger L. Jackson, once again, he delivers with these lines and that iconic voice, although realized a lot less than I was expecting, but when he does start speaking, it is thrilling and menacing as it always has been. Body count too for this is pretty high. The kills are brutal and some are more fun and more creative than others, but this movie's body count was a great way to actually keep you guessing who you think the killer might be, because I guarantee you your vote is probably going to change once or twice throughout the movie. Talking a little bit about our cast, really, it's kind of a mixed bag for me. The OGs like Sid and Gail are, of course, they're fun to watch and you're always rooting for them and invested into their story. The twins being involved was also great and actually made enough sense to kind of suspend your disbelief, which I was worried about because last time we saw Chad, he was with Tara. But the way that it comes out and unfolds, it is believable. It makes more sense for Mindy, if I'm being honest, but for Chad, it does make sense too because he's always watching Mindy's back. They're a very tight duo, and so you would imagine that wherever one of them is going to go, the other's going to follow. I will say that them two, though, they're not as utilized as I would have hoped, as I would have liked to see. They feel a lot more like beloved side characters in this movie, but man, do they shine. When it is their turn, they definitely shine, and they're a lot of fun to watch and see get involved with everything. Out of our new characters, though, Tatum is really the only one that I actually gave a shit about, and Mark. Tatum is actually a very fleshed out character with a lot of potential to actually carry on with this franchise if they want to. Her arc is pretty cool, and her being a person who actually wants to learn to protect herself and help rather than being a scary little damsel in distress made her very likable in my opinion, and different enough to where she's not a Sydney Prescott copy and paste clone. She actually has a lot of qualities that are very likable, and out of all of the new characters, she was probably my favorite one. Next to Mark, because Mark 2 was dope, dude. Mark was badass. There is actually a fight between Ghostface and Mark kind of early on in this movie that is so much fun. It was so brutal because each one of them, Ghostface and Mark, are throwing hands, dude. And that fight scene was dope. They're getting thrown around the house. You gotta watch it for yourself. It was dope though. That fight scene alone actually kept me on the edge of my seat that entire time. It was extremely entertaining. But after those two, the cast kind of feels a little dull. Each one of the kids in this friend group, they're not horrible. And for the most part, I actually did kind of like them, but we don't get to spend nearly enough time with any of them to really care about their fate one way or the other. They really do seem to be there simply to fill up our suspect list, but they aren't really fleshed out to give us that emotional connection. The whole story of this movie was really centered on Sydney and Tatum, and that is pretty obvious throughout the entire movie. A couple other issues that I did have was one, the treatment or lack thereof of the Carpenter sisters, and two, the lack of meta commentary in this movie, which was really shocking. With the Carpenter sisters, look, I was not expecting to get full-on sequence showing us their whereabouts and how they're doing, but they aren't even really addressed at all in this movie, and that kind of irritated me because the events of the last movie are mentioned multiple times, but the sisters themselves are damn near treated as they never existed. And there is one line in this movie that does slightly acknowledge Sam, but I'm not gonna lie to you, it actually felt a little bit more like a dig than anything else, and I don't know if that was the intent, but it was a moment that I didn't really feel good about. So that was kind of sad to see. The meta element in this movie also feels a bit diminished, which even though I am pretty positive on this movie overall, that part is a very big thing because Scream was always about the meta, especially within the horror genre. The big scenes where everyone gathers and the suspect list is given, the rules to survival are handed out. The Randy moments are some of my favorite moments in the Scream franchise. And in Scream 7, it felt a bit pushed to the side, treated as not so important and a lot shorter than I would have liked, and a lot shorter, I think, than most of those other moments in the franchise. And I really hope that that isn't the new norm for this franchise, because if they do a Scream 8, losing that element will just put this entire franchise in the same old hack and slash category as a lot of forgettable slashers. Before I talk about my spoiler-free thoughts on the ending reveal, I gotta gush about Matthew Lillard, bro. Matthew Lillard, he is the standout performance here in this movie. He steps right back into this role of Stu so seamlessly and is so much fun and a little bit terrifying. When he does appear, he channels that crazy that he had in the end of Scream 1 and just has fun with it and takes off. It was so dope to finally get him back because he absolutely killed it. Matthew Lillard is a joy every time he is around. I had to gush about him a little bit before the spoiler talk because we're about to get into it. But before the spoiler talk, let me generally give you my thoughts on the ending. It was good. It actually took a couple minutes to grow on me because at first I was a bit iffy, but I really liked that they actually tried to do something a bit different in this one. And it wasn't just a copy and paste from something of the previous movies. The killers themselves, one in particular, is really sold as this unhinged persona and gave us a motive that it may not be your favorite, but it was fresh and it was believable. So after sitting with it for a couple minutes, I came around and really appreciated that. And that's all I'm going to say on that. The movie was a good addition to the franchise. Some things I didn't get my wish on, and time could have been better spent on making me care about these new characters a bit more. But overall, it delivered in kills. There were quite a few twists and turns throughout the movie that were attempts at doing things a bit different, which I appreciated. And we had a really fun and intimidating Ghostface and a new character in Tatum that I would be happy to follow as the new lead of this franchise. I definitely think that it is worth the watch in theaters. And if you are already like a big Scream fan, I don't see how you could walk away hating this movie. For me, I think a 7.5 out of 10 is my score for this new installment, and it makes as a good and solid addition to the Scream franchise. Now we're gonna get into the spoiler talk because we have to talk about that ending reveal. We have to talk about whether or not we liked it, because that's the moment, right? In these movies, we really got to figure out if the motive makes sense, if it is believable. And you know what? Let me just ask you, because I want to know, Did you guys like this reveal? Were any of you right and guessed who the killer was right off the bat? Because man, I'm gonna tell you right now, I knew it was that asylum guy the minute that he popped up. He knew too much damn information. And because I really believed that the whole Stu thing was gonna be AI deepfake because he was revealed so early in the movie, it just made sense to me because the asylum dude tried to play it off like Stu was actually at the asylum. But I'm not gonna lie, because up until then, even in that tavern scene, I really didn't know. And the second killer, actually the mastermind, you can make the argument, being Jessica, I had that thought early on, but I honestly abandoned that idea pretty quick. It was actually my wife who guessed that it was Jessica, and she called that one right out the gate. And I think that they actually made for a pretty interesting and fun duo. There were a few beats of like nostalgia with the mastermind and the dumb sidekick, and you know what I mean? It actually worked for me pretty well. The AI element of the movie though, I would have loved for Stu to actually have been alive, but the way that it ended up with being Jessica being a really crazy and obsessive fan of Sydney, it didn't do much for nostalgia, but it was different. Because if you've seen any of my recent videos covering Scream, you know that I hated that Scream 6 ending and the fact that they did another "you killed my family and I want revenge." So when it comes to Scream 7, I really couldn't be mad at how this one ended up playing out because it was different and it was trying something a bit more fresh. And when it comes to nostalgia, I mean, it was the deep fakes. It was Stu and Roman and Dewey and Billy's mom. And that was a really cool moment that did not drag on any nostalgia. It actually played really well into the story, trying to get into Sydney's head and mess with her, seeing all of these faces from such a traumatic past. So I actually have to commend them for attempting to change it up and do something a little bit different. It worked out really well for me. I thought it ended up being a believable moment and played its part in progressing the story further. It does make me curious though about where they can or will go if they end up doing a Scream 8, which I hope so, because dude, they bodied every damn one of Tatum's friends in this movie. Every time one of these motherfuckers died, I was like, oh, well, I guess that's not Ghostface. And I'm telling you, man, I thought it was the boyfriend. I thought it was the creepy Gen V dude. I'm telling you. And in that last 30 minutes of this movie, they just everybody. And I was like, damn, I don't even know who it could be now. But it seems like it does leave the door open for like an entirely new cast for the next go around, because I love our legacy characters and I love the twins and I wouldn't mind the twins coming back, but I do think that it is time, or getting really close to being time, to move it along with some new likable characters that we really do care about, which we had with the core 4 and Friends, but you know how that went. But that is it for Scream 7. I'm done yapping. Let me know in the comments if you were able to guess the killers if you did go and see the movie, and how you liked that ending reveal. Do me a favor, please keep it spoiler free unless you end up seeing this video after opening weekend, but I don't want to ruin it for any of the folks who haven't seen it yet. Y'all know that when it comes to Scream, the whodunit factor is one of the most entertaining parts, most important parts, so don't give it away, please. But I appreciate you and thank you for coming, for listening to me yap a bit about the movie. Hit that like button if you did enjoy this video, and make sure to subscribe too so that you don't miss out on any of the upcoming videos that are slated to come out. But y'all stay geeked, man. I'm out, and be smooth.